Okay, folks, we're going to do a quick review and my top picks for the best monofilament fishing line on the market right now that you could basically buy at any big box store, excluding online vendors. Basically, this is the stuff that you can find at any store. These are for a first-time beginner fisherman. If you're looking for a good fishing line, maybe some of these recommendations will help you out on your line choices and what kind of fishing that you're doing. I'm excluding braid and fluorocarbon. We all know that fluorocarbon is a sinking line. Monofilament's a floating line, but it can be used as a sinking line as well. But we know that fluorocarbon doesn't absorb water like monofilament does, and it sinks and can take a lot more abuse without having to replace the line as much as you do with monofilament. But that's far and few between. We all know that that fluorocarbon costs more money. It costs more money where monofilament's cost effective, and if you got a lot of rods to refill on reels, this is your better choice option. I've used monofilament for years for various utilitarian reasons. I'm excluding braid because braid damages your reels. It's just all around garbage. Some people like it. I don't. My go-to is monofilament. I rarely use fluorocarbon, but for leader line, for trout fishing or bass fishing, I use a higher pound testage of fluorocarbon leader as a leader line for bait fishing only, for catfish and bass or whatever I'm using bait for. My first choice, this is like my top number 4 choice of monofilament, which would be for a first-time fisherman. If you're just going to spool up a spin cast reel or a spinning reel for the first time and going fishing for the first time, my fourth choice would be the Zebco Omniflex. It's a nylon line with a low-vis coating on it to protect the line. It's high impact and high abrasive. It's very strong and it's very durable. It holds knots really well. I find though it's not good for a bait caster because it's too stiff and it causes a lot of backlashes on a bait caster. But on a spin cast reel or a spinning reel, this stuff is superb. It holds up really well. It holds a knot really well. And it could take a lot of abuse before you have to retie. But it made my fourth favorite mark because, you know, there's a few quirks about the line, even with a spinning rod or a casting rod. Sometimes it does have it has a tendency to bird's nest a lot. And it does have a tendency of being a little bit too stiff on the reel, which causes a few of those problems I just told you about. Okay, my third choice for being the third best type of monofilament line that you could buy at any big box store, which will be Outcast fishing line from Zebco. Not every big box store carries this version, so just check around to see if yours does. If it does, get this stuff. I highly recommend it. It's going to be these two are going to be better than a lot of the South Bend lines or the Ozark trail fishing lines that Walmart are selling. These two have been a standard brand for years. And if you can't find these, go ahead and get the more expensive Cajun line. That stuff is great. But this is basically the stuff that you can find at most Walmarts or any big box store, because not every Walmart carries Cajun line. Like my Walmart, it doesn't carry the Cajun line. So this is the option that I had to pick. This stuff is also a nylon line coated with a low-vis type of option to keep it from getting a lot of damage. The low-vis cover on this line is really good. It holds a knot really well. It comes in either blue or clear line. This one also only comes in a clear option, so if you're fishing in murky water, this will not work for you. You may want to use this in like a clear water where the water's not staying too much. This stuff will work great for that, but this is supposed to be a low-vis blue option of line. I find this stuff is really strong. I think it's a lot better than the Omniflex. It casts a lot better. It's a stiff line and it's high impact abrasion, but it does cast a lot better, and it has less issues than the Omniflex when you're casting it, with less bird's nests. And it comes at a really good affordable price, around $2. It's a little bit more than the Omniflex, but it has a good formula of nylon and low-vis coating options, which makes this stuff really good. It can take a lot of abuse before you have to retie or refill a spool with this stuff. Over time, that's Zebco Outcast monofilament. I like this stuff. Really good option for fishing line. That makes my number 3 choice right here of being the best monofilament option that you can buy at any big box store. My number 2 option, which is the trilene big game monofilament. This stuff is nylon and it has a coating on it, which is probably, to me, one of the best, second best only to Stren type of fishing lines that I find that's really good. It does come in 2 color options: low vis green, moss green, and a clear. It is very high impact and abrasive. Extremely good line. It's better than the other 2, but it costs a little bit more, and you get a little bit more on the spool. You get about 1,500 yards of this type of line. It's up to you to what kind of pound test that you want for your fishing reel. But this stuff is really good. The nylon and low-vis coating that they put on this to protect it works really well. It'll stay on a reel a lot longer. You won't have to take it off to replace the line as much as you would the other 2 lines right here. It's very tough and durable, holds a knot really well, and that's my 2 option, being the best monofilament for a first-time fisherman. Good stuff. Caught a lot of big fish on this type of line over the years. Number 1 is Stren high impact. This has to be the best monofilament on the planet. It's made out of polymer. It has a nylon low-vis coating on it. It comes in various different pound testage that you have to choose. It's your choice of what type of line you want. Good. It's very affordable. Very price effective. It's cheap. I've found that this line is really good. It holds knots really well. It can take a lot of abuse before you have to retie, and I find that it's a really good line, and it's a good option if you're not wanting to buy fluorocarbon or braid. This is good stuff. You could use thicker line to fish for bass and heavier brush. You could use a thinner 2 to 4 pound test to 6 pound test to fish for smaller fish like trout and panfish. So the options, there's a lot of options and range for this type of line, and it's a really good line for my number 1 pick for being the best line. This stuff holds up a lot better than the trilene and the Zebco lines on the market that you could buy, and it won't damage your reel as bad as braid or fluorocarbon will. So that fluorocarbon will. So these are my top 4 choices of fishing line, excluding Bass Pro Shop and online vendors, because this is basically the stuff that you can find at any store. And the Stren is the best. I think it performs a lot better than all 3 of these. Holds the knots a lot better. You don't have to retie as much as you do with the other 3, and it's a really good line. It performs really well. I've used it for years and caught tons of fish with it. And the other lines are really good too. Just find which one you want. I do recommend the Zebco lines if you can't afford the more expensive Stren or the trilenes. But if you're not on a budget, go ahead and get the trilene and the Stren. If you're on a tight budget, I recommend you to get the Outcast before you get the Omniflex. Okay, folks, this has been a quick video on my top 4 best choices of monofilament that you could buy at any big box store that will work good for you for a utilitarian type of fishing line. Monofilament's the best to me. I've always used it, and I use it for everything. I know people say fluorocarbon, blah, 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 blah. Now, you just don't want to use these on a bait caster. If you're using a bait caster, use braid or fluorocarbon. If you're using a spinning rod or a spin cast reel, these are good to go. Alright folks, it's been your old pal Hondo on a fishing line recommendation video. / what's the best fishing line from 4 to 1. So I will leave the links in the description to where you can find these lines from various websites if you can't find them at your big box store. This has been your old pal Hondo from Hillbilly Tactical. You put God first, he puts you first every time. And you know else, YouTube, God loves you. So does Hondo. Peace out, YouTube.